One big joke. It's a fucked up world. Here we are in. I ain't going nowhere.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Reason Reborn. I am here with my co-host, Cardiac Soul. Well, like the name change, like the brand change is all out of nowhere, sir.
You say that, I see that it says sumo here still. Dead.
Yeah, I know. That's the funny thing about it. You know, I change this shit every time, by the way, and it gets on my nerves. I rename it every time, and I figured it would stay, but I guess I gotta rename it.
Honestly, I guess I've been thinking about changing my name or like going back to one of my original names for a while. So I've been like trying on Cardiac Soul for a while. Partially because I've been like mulling around the idea of like streaming on Twitch. And I was like, I can't be Cardiac Sumo 1. It feels kind of weird.
Sure you can.
I can, but like I don't like it. Like if
You know they let you change your name anyway, though.
yeah, but I can't change it to Cardiac Sumo because
You just gotta be creative.
quick fun story. I actually am the original Cardiac Sumo on there too, but that was like back in the day when Yahoo email was more popular before like Gmail really took over. So I have like some things that I signed on with Yahoo and then never had a reason to log into my Yahoo account for years.
Okay, but what's
And
your
this is what it is.
Yahoo like backup account? Because you know every account has a backup email that you can set something to. Please don't say it's like AOL or
I have no idea. I don't remember.
God, what would be an email that might have been around?
For me, it would have been AOL probably, but like now that you say that, I don't even remember what that email address was.
Yeah, it's funny because I was trying to do something to figure out a password and get on AOL, and I couldn't remember those passwords. And then one account, it actually told me this account hasn't been used in so long, we suspended it. You gotta like you can't use it no more. Like, oh, okay.
I think my Yahoo account has been deactivated years ago. So
I don't think they've deactivated Yahoo because I actually got on my Yahoo not too long ago. I was surprised. I was like, oh. And you want to know what's the backup to my Yahoo account? Hotmail. Luckily, Microsoft makes you use Hotmail, use my Hotmail, because somehow that got tied to my Windows account. So I had to kind of remember that. So I got lucky.
The error I get is pretty. It's a thing. You know, long story short, essentially, the name is not available because I have it locked with an account that I can't access. So like, and I even like reached out to Twitch and I was like, look, guys, look at the Yahoo account on that username and look at mine. It's the same thing, just with like .yahoo.gmail on the end, right? Like, it's me. I swear, please. But they wouldn't do it. So we're trying.
I haven't purged it yet.
I did look up some of the documentation on that. I think it's like a year or so, 6 months, something like that, that it's supposed to be up for purging. But apparently that does not necessarily mean that it will be purged. It's like kind of like a chance thing, I guess, as to whether it will be or not. It's more like a time limit on like when it's eligible to be purged, but that doesn't mean it's actually going to go like right that second.
Why don't you just use something like the real Cardiac Sumo? Everybody does.
Like I said, I've been playing with like, because my original name back in the day was Cardinal Rex. So I was playing with that and I just kind of stumbled on Cardiac Soul and played around with it for a bit. It is kind of weird in chat when people say, you know, hi, that's real funny, Soul. And like, I don't realize they're talking to me at first. I'm like, I'm not used to being called Soul.
Yeah, well, we'll
It
get
may or
used
may
to
not
it because
go
I
on.
swear you had that up last week, and
No,
I kept calling you Cardiac Sumo. So.
I'm not gonna tell anybody to call me anything different. It's kind of a thing. I didn't change my name to something radically different anyway. So like, it's not a thing. Zoom is fun though, guys. Like it took me a while to log in here, so I'm not surprised that it kind of gave me that layer with my name. Yeah, you guys call me whatever you want. Cardiac, soul, sumo. Some people call me Cardi. I don't know why that's a thing, but people do it
Because
a
it's the
lot.
natural. It's the natural nickname for anything with Cardi in it. Especially since you got Cardi B.
It is getting because like some people
There's also
started
the
doing
other
it,
rapper.
and then it kind of started spreading to other people. So a lot of people call me Cardi, and
At
then
least they
like
don't call you
sometimes they'll
Playboy
be
Cardi. They could
so
mistake
some
you for the
people
rapper.
will say stuff about her, and like for a second, I think they're talking about me, and I'm like, this is a weird person to be like confusing myself with all of a sudden because you assholes are calling me Cardi.
Mm.
That said, feel free to call me that if you guys want that too. We're finding ourselves, guys. We're in a new society. Things are changing.
Not me.
Stuff is
I've
getting
had the
picked up.
same
Other things are
name
getting canceled.
since I've been in my late teens, early 20s. I have not wavered. I know myself. I am comfortable with being Black Megan.
Some of us are better than others. I guess, some people have to show
This
off
is
with
true.
how
I am
secure
better
they
than
are with
others.
themselves.
It's very
So,
true.
Some of us are not as cool. We're still finding ourselves.
Clearly.
Trying our best out here. Others are shit talking,
I mean, hey, you got to make false claims. Speaking of making false claims, the Republican Party,
Segue.
as usual, has come with their bullshit. So we've had the COVID relief bill, the 1.9 trillion relief bill, passed. In I won't say record time, but for Congress it seems so because Joe Biden's only been in office, y'all, for just a little under 2 months, and he's already had that major stamp on his resume. Of course, it didn't come easily. There was opposition, mainly within his own party, from Joe Manchin, and as what they say on one of my favorite podcasts, look for it, Sexy Joe Manchin, aka Christian Cinnamon.
So I like that Sexy Joe Manchin.
I mean, you gotta admit, she is an attractive woman. Like, hey. Especially when she came in there in her little golf skirt and shit like that, to do her little thumbs down, God, the book bag on her back. Like, ma'am, you're fucking probably damn near 50. What are you doing dressing like a high schooler? Come on. Get yourself together.
Sounds like you were into it, so.
Huh?
Sounds like you were into it. So.
Not really. I don't care for her. I don't. I don't care how good looking you are. If you're a fucking if I don't like you as a person, yeah. No. You can go to hell.
I still say the white streak could have been president. I should have saved that transition. Anyway.
You just be hate loving. That's what I've noticed.
I'm broken.
And yeah, you should have saved that transition because it would have been perfect for the Papa John's part of the show. Anyway.
Good.
Anyway, so we've had the bill passed after, of course, a couple of changes. There will be no $15 federal minimum wage. So, still up to the state to keep continuing to pass it until enough of them pass it so that they'll really have no choice but to make it federal law. So one day, unemployment benefits went from 400 extra to 300 because Joe Manchin thought that 400 was too much, which is weird because he was fine when Trump gave everybody 600. But hey, okay, sure.
I mean, there is a sort of social cultural. I still think this is strategically stupid of him, but there can be a bit of an advantage to looking like you're the one in the group bucking against your own group. It makes you look don't want to say less biased. I don't know. I can see why that might be attractive to some people, but I don't understand why it works for him because.
Well, it goes back to what we were saying last week about the whole career politician thing. I mean, being in West Virginia, which is a red state, for him to be sort of biased to different things that the Democrats go for, which they just will basically label as liberal thinking. Yeah, it's good that he's not a super liberal thinking Democrat. At least he's conservative enough for their taste. So he's towing that line, for the coal miners.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, that's pretty much all it is. It doesn't feel idealistic or anything when he's, opposing that $15 amount for the minimum wage, like saying, oh, maybe 11, trying to be more conservative again. Or like last week we were talking about him not saying he wouldn't confirm that cabinet pick, I believe it was. Was she cabinet? I can't remember what she was even going for, but
the Office of Budget Management.
Right. It's a string of inconsistent behavior of what's the word? Hypocritical, essentially, behavior. So he's clearly not doing it based on just pure ideology. He's just kind of trying to appear a certain way, I suppose, to his own constituents.
Because he's not dumb. Because at the end of the day, he still voted for the bill. He just had to be a prick and get those things taken out. So, like we were saying, just to look like he's, somewhat putting up opposition.
I'm not a liberal sheep like the rest of them, guys.
Right. And I love how his excuse, he was like, well, I still would like to see people get $11 an hour. I mean, hey, I think that's fair.
Noting. I forgot what the name.
Mind you, by the way, I believe the medium in the state of West Virginia is $11. So, of course, he wants it to be $11 because that way he don't have to raise the medium in the state, and that'll hurt businesses.
Well, we're not talking about raising the medium or the average, right? We're talking about raising the minimum. So, but for him to say that is the minimum $11 there?
No, that's the medium. Basically, the point I'm making is because the minimum is still I think $7.25. No.
Okay.
Isn't it still $7.25 federally? I think federal limit is still $7.25, which is fucking appalling when you think about that shit. You can't even get anything from McDonald's for $7.25 these days.
Well, part of why some people have multiple jobs, right?
Right.
I just say that to say even it still doesn't look good, even if the median or the average in his state is what we want, the $11, because that means there are plenty of people by definition under it because it's the middle, it's the average.
Right.
But I mean, math. Shouldn't say that it's literally the middle, but you get the point. It's still I'm not good enough at math, and I'm sure you don't want to give everybody a lesson, but let's just say that, sure.
Yeah,
I just want somebody in the comments being like, well, if you have millionaires there, they're going to throw off the average. All right, motherfucker, my bad. You're right. I know how averages work. I'm just saying.
And then I would dispute that by saying that they don't necessarily count certain brackets, but okay.
Point it's still a bad.
We're split hairs.
Yeah. That's how paranoid I am about somebody coming after me like, man, no wonder you fucking flunked math in college or whatever. Oh, okay, personal.
All right.
I didn't flunk math. I wasn't good at it.
He's a programmer. He at least had some mathematical knowledge.
I passed. That's all that matters. I don't know if... just a quick aside. I was on Facebook the other day and I saw this, I guess, string of professionals in STEM or whatever talking about I got C's in this and whatever. Now I'm working at NASA. And I kind of want to be like, yeah, kind of me too, I guess, because I was a C student on some level. I work at a top tech company now, so If anybody out there is having stress,
Look, the point is, you can say anything you want about him. He's still better than you. That's what he's pretty much telling you. Okay, so just shut the fuck up and leave him alone. All right, continue.
If I can do it, y'all can. But
just say you're better than him. Don't give him hope. God damn it, you're not supposed to do that.
I'm trying to follow in Biden's footsteps.
You're supposed to crush your enemies.
To the, this bill passing. I don't know if it's been said yet, but it is still a little surprising to me. Not one Republican in the Senate managed to vote for this bill. I think, what was the number you said? 2 in the House?
Yeah. So after the changes to the bill, the Senate voted 50-49 with one vote. I forget who it was. They were absent and didn't vote. So it passed without having to go to Kamala Harris to do the highbreaker. So I guess that was nice of them. And in the House, all but 2 Republicans voted against the bill. So yeah.
I mean, it is kind of nice because the next time, something like this comes up, you can't say like, oh, you're just abusing the power of the, having the VP be the tiebreaker. It's like, well, she hasn't even used that power yet on that scale. So
yeah,
just politically speaking, there's some advantage to her not having to exercise it that often. But the reason I say it's kind of surprising, it's not because I don't think Republicans are at least, at that level predictably assholes. It's just, it's going to pass anyway. And I guess this kind of leads to something you sent me the other day. It's like, it's going to pass anyway. So why not try to get the credit for helping pass it along, even if you disagreed with it? Apparently, you don't need to help. You can just start claiming credit for it.
As we've seen senators, I believe it was Ron Johnson, who came out and was like, yeah, we gave the child tax credit to people and this will benefit children. It's like, you didn't give them shit. You voted against it. You didn't.
I think it was trending. You voted against or whatever the trend was.
Yeah, which it's crazy. And by all reports, he had some dealings with kind of suggesting it having it being ad. So he was kind of a proponent of it. You voted against something that you were a proponent of. Think about how fucking ass backward is that.
And then try to gain credit for it. So it's something that's... Because part of the reason that you should want to vote for it is because it's extremely popular. Like, people want it, which, people often want relief from disaster situations. But it's like, it was already with the public super popular anyway. You knew you didn't have the votes to stop it from happening, really. Like, you see the train coming, you may as well, get on board rather than just getting run over by it. I'm glad, at least a bunch of people seem not fooled by that, because I think I went to the tweet at some point and, most of the comments seemed like, fuck you, you're being dishonest here. But just the shamelessness of that move. If you're going to vote against it, at least stick to your guns. Don't try to act like... It's like if you go to a party and then, like, for some reason you hate fun, so you call the police, and then you show up the next day like, man, was that party great, guys? Like, what the fuck?
At least, begrudgingly I say this, at least you got to respect Mitch for that. Like, Mitch still continually comes out and says, like, I think this is fucked up, this is wrong, whatever. Like, at least he's stays on message.
I suppose. As far as
that's the best I can give him. It just like, yeah.
I have a hard time yielding that point because I think to the Trump issue and the insurrection, where he was playing kind of both sides of the fence on that. So
yeah,
he might be more willing to be a little more consistent with something like this, but he's certainly not much better than the rest of his colleagues.
Side note with Mitch McConnell, he voted yes for Merrick Garland to become the Attorney General of the United States.
Hooray for Garland.
Yeah. Which me personally, I find fucking laughable because I sincerely still feel like he only voted yes as black humor because he knows he's the reason that that man is not a fucking Supreme Court justice. He refused. Fucking fused for a year and a half. Maybe it was less, at least a year, but it was a while when fucking Obama nominated him, and he pointedly came on TV and like, "We're not passing another Supreme Court justice while he's in office. We're not even going to hold a hearing." And he stuck to that guy. He refused to give that nomination a chance, and even like failing at it.
Yeah, I hope nobody feels like he deserves points for this because, I mean, we sit here, it is still kind of appalling to think about. Like, that certainly was not normal behavior to just not give him even a hearing or anything for pretty much just like waited out Obama on the issue. Like, that was not regular professional behavior.
Yeah, because they had the fucking advantage at that time. You could have held the hearing and then voted against them. I mean, mind you, I get it. He doesn't want the public theater of showing his bias that openly, even though he does it all the time. I guess he felt like in that instance, it wasn't going to be a cool thing to do. I don't know. I fucking hate him. It's so weird. But moving back to the service.
Yeah, I guess one good thing to point out here is that early on, people were very worried that, Biden's going to be too obsessed. And even I might have voiced some of the concern if I go back and listen to some of the older podcasts about, is he going to be so concerned about getting Republicans to hop on board and having this message of unity and all that shit that he and his administration are going to, screw the pooch waiting for a hand that's never going to join theirs, you know what I mean? But like you said, it moved relatively quick. It's just a little into March now, beginning of March.
Yeah. You're not even halfway through the month.
Clearly didn't let it slow them down very much at all. It is sad because I think it would have been somewhat nice if Biden could actually prove to be effective in bringing the Republicans around, but I guess they're kind of proving that they will not be brought around.
Yeah, the whole purposely doing that shit, it's so dumb.
I hesitated because I was like, part of me was like, all right, if they work easily with Biden, that just lends even more credence to the idea that the issue with Obama was just that he was black and that, he was a woman.
But I think that's part of their problem now is that they've set themselves on this like horrible path, starting with Obama. They couldn't let the black man succeed. They had to get someone who would do their bidding, and so they went with the total far opposite. Instead of a progressive minority who kind of unified people and had the ability to, I won't say like join races together, but kind of you could say that different races back them,
I think that's fair. I was thinking about
that. So they went with this extreme fucking opposite, which was an uber racist fucking like prick who cared nothing about unity and wanted to do nothing but to punish the liberal movement on top of that.
No, yeah, that thing that's been going around lately that, whenever they make that merch, that pretty much just says like, oh, fuck Hillary or fuck Obama or whatever. Like, apparently they can't sell their merch for Biden, which, it's very interesting. I don't mind eating a bit of crow on this because if you go back, I remember, back to like the Democratic primaries. I said one risk about Biden is essentially that nobody's excited about him. Like, you're largely voting for him just to escape the hell that is Trumpism, but people aren't like women aren't like tearing off their panties and throwing them on up to the podium when Biden's there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that exciting to see the motherfucker. And yet that's kind of like an advantage. Like, he's just not very interesting to talk about most of the time. He'll have like a nice speech, but other than that, he's mostly just kind of quiet, just kind of working in the background. You never really have much opportunity to like.
Yeah, like the other day, did you hear about the fucking gun bill that they passed in the House?
No.
Right. It's like shit's just moving because we don't have chaos. It's weird how chaos. Apparently, there's a like bill to help like add some regulation. I had looked it up. So I don't know, but apparently there was a gun regulation bill that the House just passed to help add extra layers of rules and things for people getting guns. And it's like, wait, what? Where the fuck did this come from? Weren't y'all just working on the stimulus bill? It's like government is actually happening. It's moving. There's due process is going on. It's weird.
Yeah, it's news to me. Breaking. I mean, I've been pretty busy this week, but yeah, it's still news to me. But I mean, especially when you compare it to Trump, who's on Twitter all the time. Like, I don't know that I've ever. Like, I see tweets from like an account that belongs to Biden, but I never really feel like it's him saying anything to me. And he doesn't say much. So like,
honestly, I feel like Kamala is the mouthpiece because I follow Kamala. I think I do follow the POTUS again. I feel like I should. If I don't, I need to turn that back on. I unfollowed it for the last 4 years. I couldn't follow.
Fair enough.
No. Yeah. But yeah, it's like you get official statements from that account, but you actually get actual statements from her. So,
I mean, that and like it's weird that I can't remember her name because I've been getting used to seeing her, but their press secretary was always kind of like out there on the fucking ball. Like, anytime somebody brings up some dumb shit, she's just like, well, we think about real problems out here, cuz. And then she just kind of moves on. Like, anytime they say anything, it's pretty much just kind of business. Like, here's where we are with the vaccines. Here's our next set of plans for the next couple months. Here's where we are with certain bills. I'm like, where's the theater? Where's the drama? Y'all are boring. Bullshit.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's just not really. And I don't know if some of that's just like calculated or he's just old. I don't know. But like, he's just not really out there enough for you to attack him on much. He's not a very fun target, which might be why we're seeing so much focus on all.
And I think that's one of the reasons why they didn't. I think we both said this after the election. But I think it needs to be reinstated. Like, for all the like hate that a lot of people felt for Biden on the left and the right, I think what we all come to realize is like, yeah, he's not the fucking like zealot that Trump is, that they deified. No, he's not the fucking charming like poster boy of super liberalism and like the democratic socialist that we all feel like we need and want in Bernie's sexy Bernie Sanders.
He's not even like this incredible orator like Mr. Bootyface was.
No, but he, what? He's the least offensive fucking option, and like white people can't attack him because he's your basic like white person. Liberals can't attack him because he's not a hateful, spiteful like white person like Trump or anything. On all spectrums, Joe is kind of just like, yeah, I'm here. I'm willing to do things. I want to help people. Tell me your problem. I'll have a discussion with you. We'll come to a mutual agreement. We'll move on. Like, he is that guy. Like you can only get but so mad at him.
He kind of just talks. He talks in a very simple way to the people, which, as much as I was just praising Bootyface for being an intellectual there, like it is pretty easy to digest when Biden is talking to you. Like I was just listening to like a little it was around the vaccine rollout and how they're like ramping up production and all that shit. And he was like, I need you guys to be part of this and blah blah blah. Like maybe we can, get together in small groups and shit again by Independence Day and all this shit. Like very simple, like appeal to the American people, simple words, all this shit. I'm like, this motherfucker's just so not offensive. Like,
yeah, and
he's treating me like I'm part of the group here.
He don't even let the like bullshit that you say about him like stick to him. Like he called Joe Manchin during this whole thing. And Joe Manchin was like, yeah, he talked to me and we just had a nice conversation. Like, and Joe Manchin couldn't say anything bad. He like, what? He like, yeah, we talked. I mean, for all the
said
shit
he'd break
he
my
got,
kneecaps. I said okay.
For all the shit he got while running, yeah.
But again, it was why I was saying, I don't mind eating a bit of crow there because it's like the things I worried would make it difficult for him to win are pretty much what's making him very effective right now as far as public perception.
Yeah, like he only offends extremists because I think extremists want to be offended. Beyond that, like most reasonable people can't fucking find like look at the tweet I just sent you. Like it's been 51 days. It don't even feel like it's been 51 days, to be quite honest. But he's just there. And
walking around with his mask.
Things are happening. Yeah. More importantly, the focus is now on what we just discussed, like what the Senate and the House did, and not on like what fucking crazy shit the president said, what fucking crazy executive order the president like signed to like fuck over somebody. Like it's all about the process of the House and the Senate.
I was listening to a podcast and they kind of brought up this argument about maybe something they kind of learned from what happened during the Obama years is that as far as the messaging goes, like none of this legislation is really tied to Biden as like a personality. You know what I mean? Like, once the Republicans started like calling the ACA Obamacare and try to make that name stick, and he just kind of like, whatever, yeah, Obama does care. But like the point they were making is that even if they don't have a huge problem with the legislation itself, they don't like you. So the more you are kind of attached to it, they're going to rail against it because it's a thing that's related to you. Whereas like personally, and maybe you feel different, like I don't tend to think of that package as like the Biden plan or anything. Like I think of it as like a bunch of money going to like a few different buckets, I guess. I don't really tend to think of it in terms of him. I think of it in terms of just like being a plan that the Senate is like, the Senate and the House are kicking back and forth for a little while there that just passed. Like,
but yeah, I
don't have any emotional attachment to him.
And I totally get it, but it's just the way people look at it. I mean, fuck. What's one of the trends on Twitter right now? Biden bucks.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, it was earlier. It probably like has switched up because people are always trending some shit. But yeah, sometime today, the term Biden bucks was being floated around because, hey.
That's part of the challenge too, is because actors on the other side, like in the Republican Party, will try to make things like that happen. Like I'm pretty sure Obamacare was not something they were that interested in calling it. It was other people who were kind of opposing it, trying to mock it. Like they will always come up with like these stupid, goofy names to try to attach to things to make you stop liking them.
Yeah, the term Obamacare wasn't created as a term of affection,
So that wasn't to blame the previous administration for that. It's just the context in which you perceive a thing will affect how you react to it. So if he Although even if it was kind of attached to him, I'm not sure it would still matter because he's so not fucking offensive. It's just like you could probably get away with calling it Biden care, and it just still wouldn't matter.
Yeah, I think the only places that he's offensive is you are maybe super politically attuned. You might find certain ideologies. Tongue twister. You find different ideologies or ideas different. As far as what he puts in plans and not. Like a lot of people were like, why didn't you do 2000 instead of 1400 and blah 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 blah. But it's one of those things. Was like, yeah, at the end of the day, you're not going to fucking like die on a hill, pounding on that.
I mean, the people who want more are still pushing for more. They're just not like trying to kill him over not getting it right now. Like they're still push for like more environmental action, more. There's still the minimum wage push, obviously. It's not like they stopped lobbying for that. They're just not. Maybe because you get so used to the country being in ruins under Trump, you're just like, whatever, we'll accept this. I was about to call it the scraps, but it's actually a lot of shit. It's pretty massive.
Yeah. I mean, but hey, good on them. They got it. Some people have been getting the benefits, by the way, because the House ratified the revised version. They voted it on Wednesday. Biden signed it as of this recording yesterday on Thursday. And some people, the Friday have gotten their money already. So, shit. He's working his ass off.
Government actually an actor.
Right. It's like, what the fuck? The government is actually doing their job for a change? It's weird. Weird.
In that little thing I was talking about where he was speaking about the vaccines, I guess the goal at one point was like 1 million a day or something like that. And like it's already surpassed that. And he's talking about this ramp up in these plants. I'm like, God damn. Other people would have been kind of like content to be.
Yeah, like I think it came out like I don't think it was today. I think it's when he signed the bill yesterday. He was like, my plan is on July the 4th for people to like know, like not just the day of independence, but this is the day that we become independent of the virus. Because I hope that we get to that point by then that just about everybody's already vaccinated. It's like, gee, you are really, really like pushing this thing, ain't you? Like, but I mean, they've started to increase numbers in different states as far as people getting the vaccine. Been hearing more and more people talk about how they're getting their vaccination.
Like what he mentioned, like maybe by Independence Day, you guys can start getting together. You made sure to say like not large groups, but you can start getting together again without when you're vaccinated and all this shit. I was like, is that like the first bit of hope I felt in my fucking chest in like a year? It was so weird. I was like, I was almost angry at him for giving me that.
Yeah, because this month does mark the year mark that we've been in the midst of like the middle of the whole pandemic crisis in the United States when places started to lock down and things like that. So it's funny that on this year anniversary, we get like this major leaf bill that's going to help with education, economically, some social issues because it's supposed to attack some social inequities as far as economics is concerned. All types of shit. And it's not the super duper like strong progress that a lot of people want. Like it didn't wipe away student debt or add free healthcare, give the $15, but it's moved. Like it's definitely moved the ball down the court.
I mean, for something passed in like a couple months, like I don't know how much more you could ask for. It's already pretty historically big. Like, a lot of it's released. So like, I think don't quote me, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure like the child credit stuff is only for like a year. Like, it's not indefinite or anything. Although, when people get used to shit like that, maybe it just sticks around, Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's hopeful. That's the thing.
no, it's I don't know how to say this without sounding impressive, but like it's weird to feel hope. Like, I don't know if I like it. It's been so long. Yeah, it's to make sure you guys get vaccinated. I guess he also talked about putting up a new website or whatever to be able to figure out where you can get vaccinated. Like even shit like that, where I was like, it's kind of this weird trying to figure it out. So maybe they'll be centralizing that a bit better. Like, I guess that's the compliment I'm trying to give. They never seem to just rest on their laurels whenever they do a thing. They're always like looking to the next improvement of that thing. Like we said the goal was 1 million. Like, all right, let's get it to 2, which I think they've already been doing. So
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting how this all progress. Like there's still a lot of other stuff to come, but this is a major step. And hopefully at least before 2022 we can get a lot in. Hopefully 2022 won't be like it was for Obama, and this is like the year where like everything falls apart and the Republicans come roaring back and taking over the Senate and House and just fucking up shit for the rest of his damn term.
I'm not saying that they can keep up like this level of legislation every couple months till then, but like if they're able to be this effective, this consistently, essentially, and people vote against that, like, all right, we're just not going to succeed as a fucking country. Like, after having 4 years of Trump and then experiencing like stability and progress again, if you can't understand the difference there, we're not meant to survive. We're not going to make it.
Yeah, but it's them going through the motions because, like I said earlier, they started down this path with Obama where they just kept progressing worse and worse. It's like they don't know how to get off the train. They don't know how to, like, I won't say reverse course, but at least correct course right now.
Are you talking about the Republicans?
Yeah.
I guess I meant the public. Like, they should be able to feel the difference, like, in their lives more explicitly between when one administration was running shit versus this one.
Well, that you would hope. But all it's going to take is for one thing to piss them off.
Yes, people have a short memory. Like, I don't expect Cruz hopefully to lose his election.
We don't get a repeat of the Obama effect in 2022 because there's still enough like moderates and centralists like Joe Manchin and Christian Sinema who may help do something to fuck up some things. Like he's talked about the 10,000 in student debt being relieved. I'm pretty sure there's some Democrats like beyond Manchin and Sinema that might try to fuck with that shit. And like, so that could be it, Healthcare. He's talked about creating a public option. What happens when some of them buck on that shit? Like,
I haven't wrapped my head around the number, but like that child credit shit. I've been hearing that tagline going around, like it deals like 50% of child poverty, if I'm remembering the number right. Like, when is the last time you heard like a claim like that just running around with like that kind of efficacy of legislation?
It's nothing that's passed, I will say. Because, I mean, again, Obama has addressed a lot of the funny thing is Obama addressed a lot of these things and spoke on them. And it's pushed for them. But, of course, black man wasn't going to get it passed.
No. But, I mean, all this said, it's just mind-boggling to me that Republicans wouldn't at least just want to get on this train. Like, it's not unpopular with their own demographic. And I think it proves something very scary. There's like literally just nothing that's going to bring them around. And that's not to say that they have to just accept any legislation. Like if you genuinely think something is a bad idea or bad for the people, fine. But like, they don't even bother to articulate an argument that it's bad for people. They just want to say fuck it because it's a Democrat thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, we'll see. At least we got this to like be happy for a minute until God knows what.
Struck by media. We're gonna get the
that
news.
I will actually accept that over like anything like Trump like gets a fucking office somewhere.
We're gonna get all happy. They're gonna be like, all right, most of the people are vaccinated. You can go back to regular life. And then Biden's gonna come on the news next day, like, so scientists tell me there's a meteor hurling toward the Earth. You've got 5 days to live.
Well, we shall see. We shall see. Speaking of meteors hurling at people, so Governor Cuomo has a lot of meteors hurling at him right now in the form of accusations of sexual harassment claims, sexual misconduct, to which now he's getting called for by the New York state delegates and the New York congressional members to step down from office. He, of course, is still refusing, even though more claims have come of sexual misconduct, to which he, of course, responded, look, maybe they misunderstood what I was trying, my intentions, and I was not trying to do that. And I'm sorry if they thought that I was, but I'm not leaving. You can't make me quit. Fuck y'all. He didn't say the fuck y'all thing, but I'm sure that's pretty much what he thought while he said all that. Fuck y'all. I ain't leaving. So now the state is investigating him. He in trouble. Tish James is investigating him.
Think about the journey this has taken in such a short time, because this originally all started with, I guess, the idea that they were essentially like fudging the numbers on deaths due to COVID in elderly homes, I believe it was.
I know. Somebody made a great point. It's like, how is it that not the thing that y'all wanted him to leave office for? Like, that should have been the straw that broke the camel's back.
We went from that, and then you started like hearing these, stories of what a bully he is. So you started getting like sort of like this character attack for a little bit, and then we started rolling in with like the abuse claims, I suppose, that are coming up. So it's like you can actually like kind of chart the journey from that into this, which is now what everybody's talking about. It almost feels like people don't remember the thing that they were super angry at him about was for, like, essentially covering up that, not covering them up, but like counting them a different way, I guess, to look more convenient. It was a pretty ugly thing that we were talking about at the point.
Yeah. Yeah, no. It's wild. But I have to be reminded of the fact that the Cuomos have always had a weird reputation anyway. Like Chris Cuomo somehow was the smart one because he didn't go into politics. He decided to go to news because politically they've always had issues. So I guess this is just, what's his name? Edward, I think. I forget his first name. Apologies, but this is just him following in his family's footsteps.
I'm trying to remember back to the many issues with Trump. I feel like we had something similar where we were getting on him for something, and then we started hearing, he paid off such and such for all this. What was it?
Well, yeah, it's the fucking Stormy Daniels shit and the other women who accused him of sexual harassment and intimidation and all that shit.
There was something with Brett Kavanaugh too.
Yeah, Brett Kavanaugh. And during his hearing, the lady accused of him, physically assaulting her at a party, testified.
Right, but there was something before that. Like that story, I guess that was my point. Like these were situations where
He's
they were
tied to
already
Jeffrey
having problems.
Epstein. I mean, take your pick, whatever you want.
We would have these situations where like a figure is going through some kind of bullshit. Like former victims feel, I guess, empowered, to finally come up and tell their stories and stuff. And then those stories, I guess, because they're more heinous, tend to take over. Because I remember even during the Brett Kavanaugh, it's sad that I can't remember what it was now, but I remember thinking like, as ugly as this shit is, we shouldn't have been confirming him anyway for whatever the other issue was that now I can't even remember. Like he already had problems that were like, we should slow down on this guy, right?
I mean, he'd already come out publicly and was like basically talking about like presidents can be what's his name, pardon and all that, and how you can't hold the president accountable for certain things and blah 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 blah. So he'd already like set a precedent to show bias towards things like that, potentially being someone who's willing to let the president off of anything if he actually did get impeached. So.
Maybe that was it. He was certainly already under the gun for other things. But yeah, like once you kind of get some negative press around you, other things start to come up, which, depending on what they are, can overshadow the original thing. And that's not me saying that, sexual assault ought not to overshadow other things. I'm just saying, like, we tend to get it's like breaking a dam, I guess. Like once you kind of let a few things in, it just kind of starts flooding through, and then all your problems start hitting the air.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with this investigation. Cuomo probably should step down, but he's not.
He's a fighter. He's gonna punch everybody and fuck.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be ugly. But I think this is a good example because while I'm sure there's not while people are still complaining because not every Democrat is coming out and wholesale calling for his demise. I've seen people complain about that shit. Which, okay, fair enough.
And about what?
It's not a full on 100% every Democrat is calling for him to resign movement.
Oh. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yes, of course, because they have to. They have to. Yeah. It shouldn't be, ignored that, Democrats don't just sit by as a whole and just let shit rock like that. It reminds me of the Al Franken thing. Yeah. Al Franken was a huge figure in the Democratic Party. They let go of that motherfucker quick. So Cuomo's pretty much done. Like, for all he did for the early days of the pandemic, that was having him looking good and all that shit, you don't get a pass. Sorry. Even if you're upset that it's not a wholesale 100%, like every senator and every House of Representative member, and every Democrat in every facet of the world isn't coming out and being like, yo, fuck this dude. Gotta admit, at least you're getting pushed for him to leave within the party, which, gotta say, shoe on the other foot.
He'd be fine.
Exactly.
He would be fine in the Republican group. They would be like, enough of this cancel culture. Some men like women.
Right. Yeah. So, hey, there's that. I mean, we'll see. We'll let the New York State investigation go through and they find any truth to these claims. Like, I mean, me personally, I think he should just quit anyway. And it's not really about that. Like I said again, motherfucker let old people die and lie. Like,
Yeah, that happened.
come on, some fucked up shit. He literally buried bodies to keep them hidden. That's a disgusting move. You gotta go.
That is nothing I can really say about that.
But if he gets gone for this, sure. Because
Although I hope the bodies thing does not just get swept under the rug of other issues.
Exactly.
It is. We should be able to think about multiple issues at once.
Very much so. I do have a problem with de Blasio, though, being one of the people denouncing. Because I know what you're doing, motherfucker. You're trying to fucking set yourself up for a run for governorship. You're going to try to, like, flaunt your fucking black son, Dante, out in the middle of the, like, fucking campaign so you can get into the governor's office. I know what you're doing.
Hey man, whatever it takes. Politics is a cutthroat game.
Definitely.
It's winner take all.
Hey man. All right. Some smaller stories. Papa John came out and spoke about his rehabilitation from his racism and how the last 20 months he's had someone training him not to use the N-word and how hard it's been. To which I say, motherfucker, it's hard for you not to say the N-word after 20 months. You just don't want to give that shit up.
First of all, we should all, celebrate Papa John's finding Black Jesus. Yeah, he's on the path to the righteous movement. I remember when you said that to me, my response was the fact that it takes effort, significant effort for you to stop saying it is an admission that you have been saying it a lot. And before that, I was perfectly willing to just assume, because I didn't give a shit about that story, that they just caught you in some situation where you said it and it was not a common thing. But now I'm like, okay, I guess it's real common because you apparently need training to make it stop.
And you're apparently failing your fucking training because 20 months? Like, how do you not pass that class already?
Like, I feel like you just came out of nowhere to tell me that you're even more racist than I kind of assumed.
Yeah. Like, no wonder his pizza's so shitty. Like, look at the person. Jeez. And yes, Papa John's pizza is not that good, y'all. I don't know why y'all like that shit. Never. Bye. Stacey Dash came out and apologized for being a part of the conservative movement, in particular backing Trump, and asked for forgiveness from her community. What's the second opportunity?
I couldn't even be bothered to watch it. I was like,
yeah, I could care less. I was just surprised that Stacey Dash still was a thing.
I didn't turn it off mute. I was like, I don't care about this.
Yeah.
I was never that bugged about her in particular anyway. She was not trying to be a dick, but she just wasn't really that prominent.
Yeah. Like, you just, it's just like, do you care about fucking what was his WWE name? God damn it. The Funkasaurus.
Brodus Clay?
Yeah, do you care that he's an analyst for Fox?
No. Although I heard he lost that job.
Well, yeah, because he was sexually harassing his co-host. Fucking idiot.
I remember hearing about it. I was like, he still doesn't matter.
Yeah. Man. Remember, JBL was the financial advisor too. For real, for real. That shit still made me laugh when I first saw that shit. But yeah, no. So nobody cares. Good luck to her, I guess. I'm trying to make her come back. I don't know how that's gonna work.
Who has the permission to let her come back? Who's holding the keys to the community there?
I don't know. I mean, she should tweet more often and tweet things more positively. That'll get her attention. People retweet like positive tweets, and that'll build her right back up. Ain't that how it works?
Unless all her Twitter comments are just like, "Didn't you say this bullshit a couple years ago?"
I
Like,
don't even think she's. Yeah, that's the problem. I don't even think she's still on Twitter, to be quite honest. Because I feel like no,
Wait,
she
what's
still is. I just looked it up. I feel like as soon as she tries to say something positive, like people are just gonna come back out and be like, "Yo, is this you?"
like I don't know how one would pull themselves out of that. Like it's a whole like once you've kind of dug it, like I don't know how you climb back out.
I mean, she's still attractive, so maybe that'll get her some help. Like attractive people kind of get over. Yeah, I don't know. Is that what she's trying to do?
Eh. Already dedicated more time to talking about it than I expected to. But
Yeah, I know, because I'm about to move on to Piers Morgan. Um, so the British TV talk show host has been known for saying some divisive things. He has quit his job at I think it's called Good Morning Britain after going, basically going back and forth with a couple of his colleagues about the insensitive and questionable comments that he's been making about Meghan Markle prior to and after the now infamous interview that she and Prince Harry had with Oprah, in which they divulged a lot of information that reflected negatively on the royal family, including claims of racism. In particular, them holding a discussion about being worried about their son's skin tone and whether or not it will stay the same or whether it'll darken over time, which is like, wow, okay. And just about her, like the struggle, the stress, the situation was. Piers Morgan didn't buy any of it. He thought she was just crying. He's been consistently negative towards her, since I think the wedding. He's never really had much positive to say in regards to her. But things came to a head through this. He got pretty much told off and told about himself. I think it bothered him even more that it was actually two people of African descent, two black people that did it that pissed him off the most. I just feel like that's part of his anger, to be quite honest. And he quit, saying that, what's the quote? Because the quote, on Monday, I said I didn't believe Meghan Markle in her Oprah interview. I have had time to reflect on this opinion, and I still don't. If you did, okay. Freedom of speech is a hill I'm happy to die on. Thanks for all the love and hate. I'm off to spend more time with my opinions. And then he put a Winston Churchill quote that says, "Some people's ideas of free speech is that they are free to say what they like, but if anyone says anything back, that is an outrage." Which, personally, I fucking laughed. Like you just laughed. Because why did he quit? Hold on, you muted.
sorry, I only caught the clip of him like storming off the set after somebody started to rebuke him. Like you literally got mad because somebody said something back. Like we have visual evidence of you doing that exact thing the day before.
And I'm sure he didn't just quit. I'm sure the company came to him. They had a discussion, and they were like, "You gotta like apologize for some of this shit, or you gotta change." And he was like, "No," and they were like, "Well, I mean, you can quit, quote unquote, you know." And he saw the writing on the wall and was like, "Okay, I'm out. Let me go and leave so I can have some, public dignity in this." He probably was going to get fired.
Yeah, he left with plenty of dignity. Let me preface this by saying, personally, I've never given a shit about the royal family. I still don't. I don't really give a shit about Meghan Markle, to be honest. Like, I didn't care about the first Black princess or whatever we were talking about back then. I'm an American. Fuck. I'm kidding, but like, I'm saying all this to say that I haven't like read much about it because I just don't care. But this is a problem with people of his ilk. They get obsessive about particular things and particular personalities. Same thing, being obsessed with Hillary. Years after she lost her election and like fucked off to the woods or whatever she was doing, people could not shut up about her. Same thing with Obama. Hasn't been president for many moons, and like people can't shut up about this motherfucker. Like, they get obsessed with going after particular people and particular ideas to the point of madness. Like, part of the reason I just said I don't care about the royal family and I don't care about Meghan Markle is like, why are you constantly talking about her? Like, she's not a politician. She doesn't do anything to affect your life. She doesn't. I'm not saying it's ridiculous, but she doesn't matter. Like, there's no reason.
Yeah, to like kind of reiterate your point, it's one thing if there was an issue that came up that she did. Like, when we raged about Trump in the wall, that was an issue. We weren't just upset at Trump and continually talking about Trump. Trump was doing fucked up shit that outraged people. Whereas, again, to your point, Hillary was the loser. She's fucking nobody as far as like we're concerned politically. Yet they continually kept saying like, "Well, Hillary would have did it. Hillary did this." Like,
she wasn't even coming on TV for years.
Hillary
she
is sitting in her pajamas drinking coffee somewhere, sulking, mad that she ain't president. That's what Hillary doing.
For years, they were still crying about how. I lived in Florida. You could still see bumper stickers like, "I'm a deplorable," or whatever. I'm like, Jesus, the old loser called you deplorable one time like 4 years ago. And you're still crying.
Yeah.
And as far as Meghan Markle, like, again, maybe it's because I didn't care, but like every once in a while, I would kind of see her and her husband somewhere. Maybe they travel to some random fucking place and do something. I don't know. Like, I'd see them, but like, they're not doing anything worth talking about. Like, except to me. But there was no event that their thing they did that I would judge as either good or bad. They were just kind of there, living their life, being married, starting to have, regular couple shit. Like, they just didn't matter. So the fact, like, if it is true that, he keeps bringing her up, I think you need to address why you're obsessed with her, because.
And that was pretty much the basis of the comments about, to him from the two people who pissed him off recently this past week. Like, they kept saying, like, why do you keep saying these things about, like, clearly you have something about her personally or racially, and this is not cool because you keep coming at it like you don't say this about anybody else. What is your problem with her? Why is it like always such an issue? And he could not stand like being called out, I guess. I don't know.
It should be called out. It's maniac behavior to be obsessed with an individual who's not really. Again, I don't pay attention to her. Maybe she has some back and forth with him that I don't know about, but like, I imagine she's not really responding much to him. Not really out there doing anything of major effect in his life.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like he's not in the line of like people who can have a dialogue with her before or after this.
What does she really even do in public life? Because I know she was like an actor or whatever, actress.
Yeah, she was on some TV shows.
But is she even working as an actress now? Like,
no, I mean, of course, not now because she's, her royal duties. I'm sure that was part of what she couldn't do.
But right, like, it's not like imagine if every week I came on the podcast and I was like, man, fuck Dwayne Johnson and all the shit he's doing in his movies. But like, well, at least that is a thing I could talk about. She's just kind of there being royal. Like she's just literally not doing anything.
Yeah, because I mean, hate to say this, guys, but the Royals really don't do shit but be Royals. That's it. So why are we caring anyway? Like, I get it. I get the initial buzz, especially when the whole marriage came down and the whole thing's like, wow, because we've never seen not only an African American or a person of color as a member of the royal family, but an American, you know? So I can see the initial like pop for the social, but the social people, the people who are into the social buzz, totally get that. It's just over now. And I mean, I guess I understand how it's not completely over because yeah, if she comes here and everybody, oh yeah, Meghan Markle came to visit children's hospitals and stuff like that, and you know you're local, you'd be like, oh wow, I got to see Meghan or whatever.
Sure.
And things like
And
that.
I would see like little stories like that, but I'm like, it's not even worth referring to.
Yeah, but it's like, why is this dude constantly reacting like so horribly? Like that's all she's been doing, like until they left the royal family. It's like making appearances, waving, smiling, like,
existing.
yeah, exactly. She's just been existing. It's
Look
not
at
like
her
she's
breathing and shit.
right. You're like, the fuck, oh, what's the fuck is your problem, bro? Like, jeez.
Oh god.
And it's funny because I'm looking at her IMDb and like her biggest role was she was a cast member of the show Suits that used to come on USA.
I watched a tiny bit of that.
Yeah, so that's her claim to fame. I don't recognize anything else. Well, I recognize some stuff. I was like, oh, she was in that. Okay, well, she did an episode of Castle.
God. So she's all into the legal / cop shows. What was I even gonna say there? If she was like having like constantly expressing some sort of political opinions that you wanted to fight against, sure, but like was she even doing that really?
Yeah.
Did she even say anything like most people wouldn't say?
And you know, I will say this. Maybe because we are American, we're removed. We don't know how the British like press, because British press is pretty obsessed with the royals, from what I understand. At least the tabloid press, for the most part. So we don't know exactly how much she's on TV, like for every little thing. But even then, why? What are your problem?
I would
Like
argue that I would argue that's a bad thing about their culture. Then
it's very bad to me because like, what are you going to say? She took a shit the other day. Like, oh, okay, everybody does. What do you like?
I don't like. I've had people like kind of irritated with me for like not caring about like first Black princess or whatever this shit. What they were saying was, I was like, look, and maybe I was thinking about Kamala being president even back then, but I'm like, she didn't win an election. She just married a motherfucker who happens to be a royal. Like that's not you know what I mean? Like, it's not an accomplishment I could point to as like, holy shit, she did it. She fell in love, and that's great for her. I'm happy. They seem to love each other. We should all be so lucky. She's having kids. Like I did not begrudge her being happy, but like, it's not an accomplishment. It's not like work.
Yeah.
So leave that fucking lady alone. Let her like have her goddamn life. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it's probably best that they did remove themselves from the royal family and the duties and blah blah blah. Because yeah, that life got to be, because we've seen that. You know, if you were around during the Princess Diana era, you saw how fucked up they could like that life could be for someone, especially someone who's considered an outsider. You know, so yeah, it is what it is. Last for the wrap up of the stories. So Disney has come out and got ahead of things on social media by announcing that certain movies and properties of theirs will not be able to be accessed by children through the child level of their accounts. Basically, it'll still remain. Listen to me clearly, people. For all of you getting mad, they're not getting rid of everything because y'all got mad about what was that other thing that Dr. Seuss. Everybody was mad, like, oh, you're Catholic. You can't read Dr. Seuss. Like, no, it's not publishing any more of these books, these particular books. Still get Dr. Seuss books in the library, god damn it. They're not saying don't read Dr. Seuss. But y'all got mad at this. So I need y'all to listen to me when I say this. They were still going to have these movies remain accessible on your Disney Plus account. It's just that kids can't get, they're not listed in the kids directory. So if you have it set up to where your child can access and watch whatever he wants to watch or she whatever wants to watch, they can't select these certain movies because of certain things that they deemed could be taken as offensive. What are the things that are offensive? Well, they gave some examples. The first one was the aristocrats, the cats that the Siamese cats.
What? Oh,
that yeah, they're Siamese cats. Yeah, they're Siamese cats that had like huge buck teeth and like slanted eyes.
Yeah,
and spoke with like the stereotypical, Asian speaking English.
You reminded me. Fuck.
Yeah.
I was sitting here like, but I love the aristocrats. And then the second you said the Siamese cats, I was like, oh.
Yeah. So that. I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna skip over one and save that for last because that was the one that hurt my heart the most. Peter Pan. There's a part where he visits Tiger Lily, the Native American princess, and you have a like part where you see her father all in the garb with the stereotypical red skin and stuff like that. More importantly, they constantly refer to them as Redskins in the movie. Yeah,
that's awkward.
Exactly. So, and then you have the Swiss Family Robinson. The pirates who were harassing them were basically like all stereotypical depictions of Asian and I guess you could say East Indians, period. There was a lot of yellow face and brown face done in that movie for the bad guys because these were mostly white people playing, Orientals and Indian people. So, yeah. But the one that's probably the worst, at least to me, Dumbo. So we all know about the crows in Dumbo, which was already offensive enough because they were you had the black crows who were talking jive like black people, and everything, the stereotypical black jive of the era and all that. And they had the famous song, when I see an elephant fly and all that, which I love that song growing up. But there was something that apparently I totally missed as I was a kid. So the leader of the Roustabouts, which is, sorry, not the leader of the Roustabouts. They sung a song called "The Song of the Roustabouts" that was sung by sung about black people talking about when we get our pay, we'll throw all our money away. Basically saying that that's all black people do. Yeah, but the leader of this gang You know what the name of the lead crow was?
I don't. You did tweet me about it, but you didn't tell me what his name was.
His name is Jim Crow. Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck. I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I just didn't expect it to be so on the nose.
Yes, exactly. So those are the reasons that Disney cited, and they were like, we understand these are things we can't change the past. They were made the way they were made, and we're not just going to throw them away. But we're not going to have them so like just out there in the face because we're not trying to promote this stuff. So the compromise is, even though they're kids' films, they won't be a part of the kids' collection. You just have to like find them in their whole library if you want to look them up. You know. So
I mean, how many kids today were really gonna look up that shit anyway?
and it's the funny thing because it's kind of a good lead into our next topic, which is similar to this. It's always something I always wonder about when people make uh, complaints about things like this or Dr. Seuss. Like we're leaving the age, we live in an age now where there's accessibility to so much media. We've had so much entertainment and educational media come out over the years that some things are probably only generational. And I feel like it bothers people like of my generation more than it would bother people of you. Like, while I'm sure you've seen some of these things, I'm sure you don't have the level of nostalgia for when I see an elephant fly like I had. You know, you're not, thinking back to Swiss Family. Have you even seen Swiss Family Robinson? I don't feel like they even show it like they used to. Like there was a time where there used to be a segment on TV that used to be called The World of Disney. ABC used to have it. And every Sunday night they used to show Disney movies. Do you remember that?
Not specifically. Like
So
I remember
it's probably been a long time since they actually have done that. Yeah.
Taking a glance. No, I don't remember these motherfuckers at all.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, that shit, all that stuff, it's kind of died out anyway. They don't show it like they used to. Like, so people, we would have to go out of our ways to show it to our children, basically. But I feel like that's the people who have the main issue with it is like people of the generation in which they lived through it or where it was prevalent enough, which is what I think is true of the Pepe Le Pew thing. If you haven't heard Pepe Le Pew, um, you know, at its time, I don't know about now, but at its time was a very popular Looney Tunes character. And he was featured in the first Space Jam movie. He was supposed to be featured in the new Space Jam's Legacy movie, but people had issue and were complaining of him being a part of rape culture. So they removed him. And that set up a lot of outrage for people. A lot of outrage that is still continued to this day, which I don't understand. Personally, because me personally, it's understandable why you would take Pepe Le Pew away. If you haven't watched the Pepe Le Pew cartoon, I encourage you to go and watch a bunch of clips of him so that you can kind of get a refresher on him. Because I've heard people make the argument he's a player, he's a pimp. Why would you do that? He's not doing anything wrong and all that. Yeah, he kind of is. And I kind of had Cardiac look at the cartoons so he could kind of get an idea of like, what people were talking about. So I give the floor to you, sir. Just let me know how you feel about the whole Pepe Le Pew thing.
Well, I'll say this first of all. I guess I didn't remember that Pepe Le Pew was in Space Jam, so I guess it's been a while. But I watched a lot of the Looney Tunes shit back then. You know, Bugs, Daffy, Pepe, Tweety Bird and Granny, Sylvester, all of them. So like, I had some memory of it. I remember thinking even before you said that, I was like, I haven't watched it in a long time, but like the image of my mind of Pepe Le Pew is literally him holding the female cat as she's trying desperately to escape. Like that is the image of him in my mind when I think about him. I did not associate that with, you know, at the time or till thinking about it as an adult, I didn't really associate it that much with problematic behavior. I mean, even as a kid, it was kind of weird, but I just never really thought hard on it. So you're constantly seeing, and for those guys who maybe didn't like watch, you know, the Looney Tunes Hanna-Barbera shit back in the day, it wasn't like episodic like the way a lot of shows are now, and even a lot of cartoons where it's like one story that's continuing on week to week. It was just kind of like these random, I don't know what you call them, like skits or whatever in like different areas.
Yeah, basically skits, like watching a variety show.
Right. But with Pepe Le Pew, there wasn't as much variety. You know, like with Bugs Bunny, he might run into like that witch, or might be doing something with Daffy or Elmer Fudd, or oh my god, the redhead dude, Yosemite Sam. You know,
I was about
like
to say his name, Yosemite Sam.
Marvin Martian, like he had some variety, but like the only thing I remember about Pepe Le Pew is him just sort of constantly pursuing this woman who was physically desperate to get away from him constantly capturing her, holding her down, all this shit. Like that is the image of him in my head already before this conversation even took place. It's something you even just said at that point where people are like, oh, he's a player, he's a pimp. To me, that's part of the problem too, is that you guys kind of celebrate this idea of being a pimp or a player or whatever. Like you already sort of attaching weird social values to treating women a certain way. Because before we talked about this, I was like, yeah, Pepe is a problem, but I don't know how much he really contributes to that sort of behavior. But like, I think there's definitely some cultural values that need to be reassessed. If at this point in 2021, you're looking at the idea of a pimp who literally sells women as like something to aspire to, you know what I mean? Like I've never liked that sort of thing, or even in rap music, you know, not just music, but just, you know, growing up, always talking about like sexual conquest all the time. Like it's this weird competition, I guess, that you're going to win. I don't know, but I won't go too far in that direction, but to keep it with Pepe Le Pew, honestly, if there was ever a motherfucker from that group to cancel, like, because people, I don't know if you sent me this, but people were like, well, if you're going to cancel him, you should cancel Bugs for doing this racist shit over here. And I'm like, the difference with characters like Bugs Bunny is like, even if you have examples of them doing something problematic, it's not their main thing. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I'm trying to figure out the racist stuff that people have pointed out. I think a lot of it is always, oddly enough, just constantly stems towards fucking Marvin the Martian, which I guess everybody just assumed that he's a racial, you know, representation.
Well, I haven't really dug into their claims, because I guess that's really part of my point, is that even if it's true, like if you could pull up some example of like, I don't know, Bugs Bunny like throwing on a sombrero and saying something kind of racist or something like that.
Okay, now that if you say something like that, I could see like him kind of doing some questionable stuff like the Peter Pan things, like dressing up in racial garb.
That doesn't define what Bugs is as a character. Like, even if you have examples like that, it's easy to just kind of like, all right, that was wrong, not do it again, and just continue with what the Bugs Bunny character is.
And you kind of can exclude those like representations of him. Kind of like you exclude the Dr. Seuss books.
Sure. But you can't really do that so easily with Pepe Le Pew. Like, he's pretty one note. His entire fucking thing is pursuing the opposite sex whether they want him to or not. Like, he doesn't really do anything else in any of his skits. You know what I mean? Like, Bugs, one day he might be like boxing some random dude. He might be like fucking with Daffy during a hunting season. He might be like messing with that witch, singing opera with Fun. Like, he does like all this different stuff with different characters in the world. So he's not really tied down to any one thing. So even if he had like some alter ego that was kind of racist or something, you could just toss it aside. It's fine. He's still going to be Bugs. What is Pepe Le Pew without being a creep? Like, what would that even look like?
Nobody would care for him, probably as much as they do. Maybe, I don't know.
He just be a skunk walking around.
Yeah, because that was the whole thing. That was his whole trope. He had no real gimmick to him other than, I see this cat that somehow seems to always get this fucking white stripe, and as soon as I see that white stripe, I get horny as fuck, and I like fucking grab her. Not just like come up and say, hey, like, it's funny because people, again, the whole pimp player thing, like, he doesn't even try a pimp player approach at first, at least, with the, hey, baby, let me holler at you and try to like mind fuck you into get with me type thing. He just literally fucking grabs her fucking ass and like, yo, we gonna fuck.
Pretty much like he starts like talking a bunch while he's doing it, but he's not like seducing her with his words. No, he's just saying things while he's physically holding her. It's not the
kissing on her, violating her. Like,
it's not something to be admired. So I can't believe anybody would seriously sit there and make like, he's a player, he's a pimp. Again, I don't think you should be celebrating those ideas that much in the first place. But even if you want to, he's not. He's just kind of like has no physical boundaries. I guess it just does what he wants. I mean, there's parts where, like, I think one of the clips, he's like, she hits him with a fucking bat. Like,
she used to fuck him up, and he would keep coming.
Right. Like, there was no ambiguity here. I guess she never spoke, but she was pretty much saying no. Like,
yeah. And it's like, we and you were talking about it, and I think you mentioned like how you wonder if there was ever even a time where she responded to it. I think you said, or something.
I've been thinking, whether I didn't get to read the article they were pointing out, but somebody on my Facebook put up this argument about like why you should keep the Pepe Le Pew stuff, and it's like, this message of like fighting back and blah blah blah, and I'm like, no, it's not. Right? Like, it's not a good message at all because, one, she never successfully really gets away. You know what I mean? Like, he's just constantly pursuing her in every fucking episode they're in. Nobody ever really comes to her rescue. Yeah. Like, he's never really rebuked. That's like, it would be one thing if it was like a story of like a character that's like a sexual abuser and like he gets his just desserts or something. That doesn't fucking happen.
Yeah, because there's really no justice. Because even at the end, he still continues. It either ends with him continuing to harass her or him, feeling like he's accomplished something. He never has like any like remorse. There's never really any consequences to him and his actions.
Fights back and gets her shit in, but like, if anything, that's just kind of like instilling the idea that she has to keep fighting him, that she has to physically fight him off forever.
Yeah. And I feel like there's only one instance where I only remember one instance in which he ever gained her affection. And this instance is a very fucked up instance, by the way. A lot of people probably don't remember this episode, but I do vividly. And I spoke about it in this video I did on my YouTube channel. So there was a particular episode where he's, of course, doing his thing, chasing her, harassing her. She's trying to escape. And I don't know if it was like a winery or something. It was someplace with alcohol. In any event, while running for her fucking life, she falls into a vat of like alcohol and ends up getting drunk because of it. So he's searching, looking for her, and she comes out of the vat, and he doesn't recognize her because she's all wet. She's, I guess, not looking as attractive as she normally does. Which, keep that in mind as I'm saying this. So she's wet. She's looking all fucked up. Twitching, acting crazy. And he sees her, and he was like, I'm sorry, I'm looking for so and so. And all of a sudden, she seems to all of a sudden get horny. And she decides to start jumping on him and kissing up on him and rubbing on him and basically giving him the same treatment. And his reaction, of course, was, whoa, I don't know you, miss, and I'm not feeling you. Get the fuck off me. And he's like, now it's like, quote unquote, role reversal. Except for it's not really role reversal because now you have the image of the drunken, unattractive female harassing this guy, this smooth, suave player. And he's got to bat this horny, crazy woman off. That was the most positive, and of course it like ends with him being the one running.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking about, as far as to whether she ever gets over. Like, I had this vague memory of like the script being flipped where she was going after him, but I clearly did not remember the details of it.
That is when she started going after him.
I remembered it. I had the image, but I'm like, I can't remember why she suddenly changed her mind and why he wasn't into it, but I did kind of remember. So, yeah. I think he was supposed to have a scene with that one actress whose name is suddenly escaping me. And I'm just like, I'm already trying to like imagine what that fucking scene would have been like and how not okay it would have been.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember
Unless, like,
what his role was in the original Space Jams. I think I've seen that movie once in my life.
Maybe she was just gonna like kick him in the balls and be like, "Yay, women!" Who knows? I guess we'll never know. But like,
yeah,
I don't know what we're missing here, and I don't give a fuck about Space Jam 2. Honestly, like we don't need to make this
that's
movie.
probably the most important thing is why the fuck are they making this movie? Like, the movie shouldn't be done in the first place. But like, you got enough Looney Tunes, I'm sure, to fill a team without him.
I guess my point is like, you go back and you look at all these characters who came up in a time that was different. Like you're gonna have all this extra back. I'm like, look, just make up some new fucking characters. We don't need to do. I don't need to bring up like this whole social critique every time we have one of these fucking things because you guys can't let go of characters from 100 years ago. Like, make some new ones that don't have all this weird.
And to be fair, again, like how much back to the the Disney thing. How does Looney Tunes even come on TV anymore? I feel like they don't even show that shit nowhere.
The last time I thought about it, I guess they used to have like a channel called Boomerang or something where they'd like offloaded all that shit onto.
Yeah, do people even? Well, I don't think people watch Boomerang.
I know at one point when I was younger, like they would show it at like I don't remember some part of the week, and then it became less and less, and then they had these like little revamps where like I'm trying to remember. I guess they revamped like Bugs and Daffy as like roommates at one point, and that's like the last like Looney Tunes thing I remember seeing. It was like a modern kind of version of the show where they just like live together as roommates. It's like
I don't really see any of the old cartoons. Maybe it's all on Boomerang, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, they definitely don't show them anymore. Not like you're not gonna see like old Hanna-Barbera shit anymore. You're not gonna see like old Scooby-Doo on, I guess, Cartoon Network. I guess it's CN or whatever it is now. Like that's just not gonna show up.
And see, I'm looking at Boomerang, like, yeah, they got a subscription plan and all that. Like, no, nobody wants to see Boomerang. I'm not subscribing to Boomerang.
At best, every once in a while, you get like an updated, crisper version of like Scooby-Doo or Bugs or some shit like that, but nobody cares. Like,
yeah, like I see they have Looney. Okay, so they do have Looney Tunes on there. They have Tom and Jerry. Flintstones. I would love to see the Flintstones again. Scooby Doo.
Are there
Yeah,
any
so
black
they.
people in the Flintstones?
Oh wow, no.
I shouldn't say
Kidding me?
black people. Were there any people of color in the Flintstones?
No.
I guess they had.
You know, the purple
come into
dinosaur. That was the people of color.
existence.
I mean, yeah. No, we clearly didn't exist in the Stone Ages. Or maybe whatever continent they were based in wasn't one with us on it.
Fair enough. I guess they weren't traveling large distances anyway, so
No, they didn't really get on the pterodactyl plane that much.
I won't cancel them. That's fair.
Although I feel like there's some elements of racism maybe in the Flintstones, but I can't recall any. So
I'd give it whatever. I'll give it a pass. Like nobody cares about it.
I got Johnny Quest now. That had some interesting racial undertones.
Is he the one with like the little Eastern boy?
Yes, Haji, Simsim Salabim.
Oh my god.
His magic spell thing. But yeah, he used to like fucking fly all over the world with his dad, erase banning, killing indigenous people. So yeah. He was the fucking Nathan Drake of his time.
I don't need the fucking Naughty Dog people coming at me because he said that. People love that motherfucker.
Hey, I'm a fan of the Uncharted games, but like, yeah, I mean, it's not intentional, but let's be honest, he goes to foreign countries and gets into fight with a lot of fucking like people in those countries, and a lot of them die.
Pretty much.
To be honest,
Exploring shit he don't need to be.
They have
exploring.
Tasmania. I would like to see that cartoon again. I haven't seen that cartoon in a long time.
I don't love having to like go back and I mean, how should I say this? I can see how it looks to certain people that we're just like going back into the catalog of history and just like, you know, taking our little Sharpie and crossing out all the bad shit. But we're like, we're not even really doing that. Like, most of it is not like just gone.
I think if anything, we're acknowledging it. And it goes back to the Disney thing. I appreciate them for acknowledging that, yeah, we recognize this shit is a fucking problem. And it's the same reason why I'm not upset about the Pepe Le Pew thing. It's like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, he was problematic. Like, you know, so it doesn't bother me that they don't want somebody like that in that movie.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's not even just that he was problematic. It's like, there's not really any way to do him that wouldn't be problematic.
Yeah, because you at this point, it's not like you reestablish him as a character. You're bringing back your oldies, but goodies to be in
order to use him, you'd have to revamp him so much he just wouldn't be the same character anyway. So like, it would be pointless. But to this thing, like they didn't.
Yeah, maybe if you make
it,
yeah, it's hard because you can't even make a joke out of it.
No, you can't. Like, that's why I said like it's a pretty particular case because, and that's why I didn't give it. Like, I didn't fuck with the arguments where people were saying like, well, this motherfucker was wearing a sombrero. This motherfucker did this. Like, okay, is that what you think about when you think of that character? Like,
right. Oh wow, they have Popeye now. Bluto, there was a problematic dude too.
He's Popeye the Sailor Man.
Yeah, but Bluto, the way he used to try to like, you know, steal Olive and shit like that, and get mad and threaten her.
Ooh. I didn't need to remember that.
Yeah, nah. Oh, they have wacky races. I gotta see
Popeye.
wacky races. I have to see wacky races.
This motherfucker's literally going back in the catalog right now.
No, I'm not gonna ruin wacky races because I can't think of anything. I mean, well, I might think of slightly one thing that might stand out a bit, but we'll leave that part alone.
I was listening to a podcast earlier, and they kind of brought this point up that like these sorts of things just kind of blow up on right-wing media. And part of the problem with that is that sometimes you just don't get the facts. Like,
Yeah.
you know, they get blown out of proportion. There's more acclaim than is actually happening. Like with the Disney thing, you can still watch those fucking movies if you want. They just don't show up in. I think what you just said, the kids section.
Yeah,
like,
they don't allow kids to like.
They don't show up for the
them through
motherfuckers who were not going to watch them anyway.
All right. Like if kids are gonna watch anything on Disney today, they're gonna watch all the Pixar movies and shit like that. Let's be honest.
The newer, better looking shit. Like if
right.
Even remastered, some of that shit practically looks black and white compared to modern animation.
Actually, no. That I will argue against, because if you look at Disney animation actually it was ahead of its time, the way that they did their shit. Like,
it's very detailed. I'm just saying, like, color palette wise, like, it doesn't feel as vibrant. Like, the animation is solid.
Yeah.
And that's where some of the remastering helps to help that color pop. But, like, there's a difference. Like,
they have Magilla Gorilla. No grape ape.
I don't know. You know, I haven't verified this, but, like, on that podcast, they mentioned like the Mr. Potato Head thing. And according to them, apparently you can still buy Mr. and Mrs. Potato Heads. Like, they're not erased or anything. There's just also the potato head.
Yeah, they just call it potato head. You get one with the girl parts, you get one with the guy parts. They like, again, as I said last week when we talked about that shit, if I bought the Mr. Potato Head and you happen to have Mrs. Potato Head, I could take your Miss Potato Head shit and put it on my Mr. Potato Head. You wouldn't know the difference between the two. I think maybe the shoes might be the biggest difference.
Look how much.
And no, now that I think of it, like, I think you could put the feet on them too. So no, it doesn't matter. It's just a fucking potato with holes in it.
It's pretty much just a name change for a product that already was the way it was.
Yeah.
And even then, at least from my understanding of how they described it, the Mr. and Mrs. names are still there too. You can buy those if you want. They exist. They're not different, but you can buy them under that name if you so desire.
Yeah.
So when they're obsessing over that, like sometimes you're just getting information that's just not even fucking correct. Like,
I wonder how many people bought potato heads when that happened. Like, did y'all make a concerted effort to make sure that you bought a bunch of potato heads so that you can show the liberals that you're not going to let your fucking like Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head die because of your stupid liberal views or anything like that?
I mean, I went to the Hasbro site because I'll look in a minute to see what you can order, but like first thing that shows up is like their little announcement on this thing. It was back on February 25th. Hasbro is officially renaming the Mr. Potato Head brand to Potato Head to better reflect the full line. But rest assured, the iconic Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head characters aren't going anywhere and will remain Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. Like, which I guess, you know, helps verify those other people's points. Like, they haven't really changed anything. They're just kind of adding a more generic name to it. And yeah, I'm like looking at the boxes, like the brand. That's what it's saying. The brand's name is Potato Head, but like you can still order the set, and in the bottom, I guess I can send you the link to this. But you can see on the box, like the brand's name is Potato Head, and then there's like differentiations. There's like a Mr. and Mrs. and then there's like just create your own set or whatever the fuck it is like. So it's not even really a change of any substance. Like you probably wouldn't notice it if you went and bought one, is what I'm saying.
But again, who's buying fucking Mr. Potato Head?
Parents who can't stop shoving their own shit down their kids' throats.
Like, I don't know. Maybe that's part of the problem. So I remember when I was a kid, when it came to toys, if I saw something, I go, "Ooh, mommy, I want that," and then she'd be like, "Okay, that." Not you're gonna play with this goddamn thing. Well, take that back. My father wanted me to ride a bike, and I never learned to bike because I was an asshole as a kid who always was obstinate when you tried to force me to do something. So I never learned how to ride a bike because I never asked to learn how to ride a bike. You know, make me do what I don't want, motherfucker. Yeah, I know. And now I wish I could ride a bike. That's the sad part of like, that's the problem. Like me standing up for my rights. This is what sometimes you standing up for certain things, like Mr. Potato Head, can get you.
Yeah, my point is like, you get so caught up in the narrative that, you know, especially driven by the people that seem upset by it, that you don't even realize it's not even that it's just lies. It's that it's an exaggeration of the truth. It's like the Dr. Seuss thing. If you pretty much the story just hear like, now they're canceling Dr. Seuss. It's like they stopped publishing like a couple books that you've never fucking heard of.
Right, nobody read those books.
And they're not bad.
It's funny because thinking about
like,
seriously thinking back to that whole thing when you just said that, I feel like those books were already kind of like banned anyway. I feel like the fact that we don't know about them means that somebody probably saw them and was like, ugh, let's just fucking pretend like these books don't exist and sweep them on the rug.
Well,
they never fucking promoted those books.
Well, what I learned from that was that he apparently wrote way more books than I thought. So,
right.
like that was an education for me. Is that he had more books than just like the 5 or 6 or whatever I think of off the top of my head. So I'm like, what really changed? Like y'all probably never read those books in your lives. Like your kids weren't gonna read them anyway. Like nothing changed. They're not banned. If you want to get them, you can get them. Even the schools, they were like, yeah, they're there. You can get them. We're just not going to be promoting it on, what was it called, National Reading Day, whatever the fuck it was, because, you know, I guess it was also associated with Dr. Seuss's birthday or something, but like nothing really happened of substance. Nothing. Like if they didn't announce it, would you have even fucking noticed?
All right.
If you were a parent and your kid went to school and just didn't happen to read Dr. Seuss, would you really have thought about that?
Nobody would. Let's be honest. Well, the only good thing that's come out of this is that by going to the Hasbro site, I realized that they still sell some G.I. Joe figures that look cool. But I'm not paying $20 for these damn things. God, why G.I. Joe so expensive? That Destro looks cool as fuck, though.
I get tired of these arguments too, because you know the same way I think we talked about it last week with the Dr. Seuss thing, where people were like, you know, keep them around and you can learn about racism. It's like there's better ways to learn about racism. I heard somebody make the same argument with Pepe Le Pew. He was like, all right, keep it around, and you can use it as an illustration of why sexual assault is wrong. But it's like again, it's not really an illustration of that because he never gets his just desserts. And 2, like, they're not gone. You can watch them. You can read them. They're still there. They're not bad. Stop saying it like it's not there.
Yeah. No, he's still like doing his
thing. Do not
erase
all traces of their existence. It's there.
I actually want this gung ho too. Damn. See what like can of worms that you open. Gotta be looking at G.I. Joe figures.
The last thing I thought about, I think it was like maybe it was an episode of Scrubs or something. Like somebody did, or off The Office. Like somebody did like blackface in one of the episodes, and apparently that got taken down.
Yeah, it was The Office. Dwight did something. He did blackface. God, he's an idiot.
But I remember, and maybe I'm gonna look like an asshole, but I'm like, maybe there's a way you can still find it. I was like, I don't know that needed to be, you know, he wasn't celebrated for doing that in that episode. Like. People were like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, that's a better example than the Pepe Le Pew thing. Like, they were not cool with it in the episode. He came just oblivious to what he was doing wrong, and they were like,
yeah, no, he definitely got his comeuppance.
Yeah,
Let me see. Is this it?
I don't hate what we're doing there. I guess just accept things in their context of their past and don't, leave them as they are. I guess so. Don't worry about them.
I mean, but I can understand if you want to take certain things off. That's fine.
I guess I'm not as motivated because they're the things that, like, at this point we're not looking at anyway. I mean, if they're egregious, I guess whatever. Like, maybe there's like a line that I don't know where it is, but like,
I mean, if you want to take it off and you acknowledge that it's wrong and that's why you're taking it off, I'm comfortable with that.
I guess I'm fine with leaving it to and just being like, all right, this goes in the 1950s racist as fuck section. All right. If y'all need to, if you feel like getting a quick reminder of like how fucked up our cartoons were, go ahead. Otherwise, we're not going to really promote it, but it's there.
Well, I think that's why The Office did that, because it would have been a part of the entire run of like shows listed. So you were going to get, that regardless.
True. Their library is a single series that you watch in order. So
Yeah.
it's not as easy to just like put it on a back shelf nobody looks at.
Just like if we put up a Looney Tunes library, you will have to eventually run into, have it appear. So Office is fine. They still have Asian Jim, so it's all right.
You mean the real Jim?
I mean, he's a Jim now in MCU.
I was watching him in an interview. Like, he apparently didn't remember he did that because he was responding to like being called Asian Jim. Must be fun to just like not remember roles you've done.
That's what happens when you do a lot of stuff, I guess. All right, we're rambling now. We've reached the point. Like, yeah, not being mad that stuff that is questionable or offensive is gone.
I don't want to apologize. But we have to kind of ramble about it because this is what they're doing instead of like focusing on, passing helpful legislation. They're just like bitching about every little fucking thing that comes up. They want to cancel Dr.
They don't have an because they don't have anything. They really don't. These are the hills that they have to die on because they do not have any real policy.
Yeah, that's good. And I was trying to tie that back to the Meghan Markle thing and what's her name, Hillary, and all that. She's like, they get obsessed with certain things because they just don't want to do something productive. So like, we end up talking.
Yo, they even had a picture of Asian Jim and Asian kids. It's awesome. Sorry, I was looking at the clip of Asian Jim because they should, like, he tried to like prove to him, like, look, this is Jim here in this picture, and he looks at the picture, and this is like Randall Park with in the picture with Pam and two Asian kids instead of the regular kids. Yo, Jim used to go all the way the fuck out to fuck with Dwight on that show. God,
it's lucky he never killed him because like some of that shit was too far.
Yeah,
I mean, it was like the amount of planning that he would put into that. I'm like, this guy's a psychopath, right? Like, this nobody else would put in this level of effort just to fuck with a person on a daily. Like, he put more work into that than his actual job.
He really did.
But yeah, like I know it seems like a weird thing for us to talk about, but that's kind of what they want. They want to drag us into these dumb arguments because if we look too closely at the fact that they're not doing anything, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So they over-exaggerate little things like this so they can be like, see, the libs are trying to take away everything you fucking liked. They spend all their time just dicking around.
Meanwhile,
going back,
here's $1,400. Like, fucking dumb. All right. So, have you found any books to read other than comic books lately?
Yeah, this week has been kind of slammed with work. So,
All right.
in fact, I'm behind on comic books too. So.
Well, if you're looking for entertainment, you only gotta wait another 5 days, people, because you're gonna get that Snyder cut.
You know, I was actually thinking about that earlier, and I just kind of sighed. I was like, fuck.
It's coming. Again, I seriously wish that this was on Amazon Prime so I could do a fucking watch party.
It's not like I want it to be bad, but like 4 hours. I feel like I'm walking into a WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't want it to be bad. I just know it's going to be bad.
And like, I feel compelled to watch it. Yet at some level, it feels like a chore.
Yeah, if it was 4 hours, it would be even like I would be more excited about it too, because it's like watching a beautiful disaster, but the beautiful disaster actually takes forever to come together. So,
have you rewatched the original?
No, and I feel like that's my plan for this week. Because like I told you, what I want to do is I don't want to just rewatch the original. I want to start from Man of Steel again. Start on a high note, of course, because that was the first one anyway. Because I like Man of Steel. I do. I thought Man of Steel was cool. I like the direction that they took things, which is partially why Batman versus Superman was even more of a disappointment, because it's like, wait, you did all this and now what the fuck are you doing?
I guess I was trying to decide like whether I wanted to go in as fresh as possible, not remembering the original.
No, I gotta see the original. Because remember, the whole selling point of this is this movie fixes everything. This is the movie that it was intended to be. This is the movie that is going to blow your mind, because this is what they were supposed to give you. This is why Warner Brothers sucked for not wanting him to come back, because he had the greatest film on earth coming and it was derailed and he was not allowed to do. And you know what makes it even more fucked up, which kind of makes the fans of this shit fucked up too? Everybody's screaming Josh Whedon this, Warner Brothers that. The reason he did not finish the movie on his own is because his daughter died. You can't help something like that. So you can't why are you throwing blame on all these other people? Like, things happen. Yet we're getting this whole narrative like they just wouldn't let him get his vision and now they're finally no. And that's the thing that I think that's one of the reasons why, I don't expect it to be bad. I wouldn't be disappointed if it's bad, because I feel like the whole premise around this whole thing and how it all came together is just totally fucked up. Especially when you recall that fact that everybody seems to want to fucking ignore. That there was a death in his family, and that's why he didn't. Josh Whedon was brought in. Josh Whedon didn't come in on some agendas like, I'm gonna fuck your shit up, anything like that. No. So stop with that narrative.
I feel bad about that, but I do. It does still bother me that everybody was like, release the Snyder Cut, and nobody was willing to acknowledge that it didn't fucking exist.
Yeah.
That was already an annoying part of the narrative. Like, y'all all acted like it was just this thing that at the click of the button they could just drop online. And clearly it fucking wasn't.
No.
So, all that to say, I'm super excited to watch.
Yeah, I might have to. I don't know. I need to start. I can't do a watch party. I feel like, in fact, I'm gonna hit I'm gonna hit Strix up and see if I can get him and maybe other people together to just sit and watch this shit. So I could have like people like me, you, him, just sit and watch it, and we clown the fuck out of this shit. Because I don't think I can get through it without anybody else. Like, I need a reason to continue to watch.
You saw that story.
I'm gonna tell you this now. If the movie is not good, I'm gonna treat it like I did fucking Avatar. I'm gonna start doing laundry. I literally, that's what I did after about 30 minutes or 40 minutes into Avatar. I started doing laundry, folding clothes, cleaning my apartment. I was doing everything but truly like paying attention to that movie. And I would like listen and I would hear things and I would groan, and then I would look and I'd see things. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, no, I don't need. Yeah.
You saw that story the other day about like how they accidentally uploaded the movie for like 2 hours.
How, like, for those who don't know, somehow it got released on HBO Max. If you clicked on the Tom and Jerry movie, some people were treated to random like lengths of time of the movie. Now, from what I heard, you could not get past more than 2 hours, so you didn't see the whole movie. But for most people, once it started to play, you either gotta air a screen, or if you tried to pause it, it would like crash or whatever. So, yeah.
I just brought that
Only
up to
certain
say
things
that
that were leaked, because not a lot of it was leaked.
the sad thing about that was I kind of envied those people, because I was like, all right, they got to watch half of it and now they get a break. Whereas I'm probably going to watch it in one sitting. So, but you know what? I hope, by the time you guys hear me talk about it, I'm like, I was such a dumbass. This was the greatest movie I've ever seen. Prove me wrong, Doug.
Just know that he only reshot one scene.
Prove me wrong.
So you're not gonna get a lot of new stuff. But okay.
All right.
All right.
Look forward to that, I guess.
I actually look forward to fucking Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's gonna be awesome. Anyway, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching, listening. We appreciate you. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you got to this part and you got pissed because of us talking, or in particular, I won't say us, I'll say me talking down, because I pretty much did all the negative talk, then, oh well.
I like how that was like inching toward being an apology. Like, well, fuck you.
I ain't gonna say fuck you, but I'm just like, like,
why even bring it up if you're not going to apologize?
I am what I am. Anyway, we will see you guys next time on the Reason Reborn. Peace.